Welcome back to another episode of Body More Bottles with your boy Von Zarelli, aka Craft Brew Carry. This is the first episode I'm recording in February, which is Black History Month. So what we're going to do this month is shine a light on some African Americans in the spirit industry. We're going to start off by shouting out the Black and Brown podcast. It's a podcast hosted by three African American brothers who basically talk about bourbon and their love for it. Their motto is bourbon from a black perspective. That podcast started in 2020. I found it right around the time that they first started it. It's very entertaining, very educational, and very understandable. You can listen to it on all your wherever you listen to your podcast. You can find it, Black and Brown Podcast. Just search that; it'll pop up. What they usually do is they talk about bourbons. They might talk about what they drinking. They got a segment called "What's Cracking," where they each one tries a different bourbon. They talk about it, what they liked about it, what they might not liked about it. Give you some backstory on different bourbons. They've had interviews with owners of distilleries, brewmasters, and even mixologists. So get them a listen, check them out. You won't be disappointed. What I'm going to do now is review a beer from one of my favorite local breweries, Union Craft Brewery. The reason why I'm going with them first is because one of their co-founders is a black man by the name of Kevin Blodger. I didn't know that until I did some research looking up black-owned breweries because I wanted to get some beers in there, and I found out that Union Brewery here in Baltimore has a black co-founder. So shout out to him. Thanks for co-founding one of my favorite local breweries. Like I said before, you see that Union, you know it's gonna be a good beer. So let's crack it open. Let's see what this says first. This is one of those everyday beers that I said before that they have to offer. Basically, like just your regular run of the mill lager, like a Budweiser, Miller Lite, those type of things. It's not the special, like no specialty IPAs or stouts, anything like that. Basically, something you can just go get and try any day. Everyday drinker, basically. Let's see what the color is. Now, as I pour it, you can see why it's called the Blackwing. A champion of flavor is what the can says. 12 ounces, 4.6% alcohol by volume. On the side of the can, it reads, a crisp, clean, dark lager begins with hints of roasted coffee beans and rich chocolate, but showcases a surprisingly light body and mouthfeel. This Schwarzbier, German for black beer, is moderately hopped with noble German hops that complement the delicate malt backbone. Not to be underestimated, this dark lager is a true champion of flavor. As you can see, it is a dark lager. That's why it's called Blackwing. It's not light like a Budweiser, like I said before. Let's see what the smell's saying. I can't explain the smell. It definitely smells like beer. It smells like it's boozy. I can smell those chocolate notes that it said. That's about it. I can't really put my finger on the other smell. Let's see what it tastes. It is light. I can taste those coffee notes that the side of the can said. Yeah, I'm getting the lager at the end. The coffee notes last around. A little bit of dark chocolate. Like I said, that could be a good everyday drinker. You know, you come home from work, just want to crack one open at the end of the day. That could work out for me. I could see drinking that. It's different. It's a different taste from when you think of lager. So I'd give that a solid 3.5. Let's split the difference. 3.25, 3.25 out of 5 on my scale. Let's clean the palate. Our next beer that we have also comes from Union Craft Brewery. This one's new this year. Pajama Pants. They have one that comes out every year. It's called Snow Pants. It's an oatmeal stout just like this one, but this is Pajama Pants. It's an oatmeal stout infused with roasted coffee. 8.5%, comes in 16-ounce cans, 4-pack, about $15. Now, I just got this Blackwing today. This is my first time trying this. I grabbed it because it was Union. I wanted to try 3 things today. I already had this, and I got my third thing. I needed something else. So I grabbed this. Didn't read the side. If I would have read the side, I probably would have grabbed something different because it has those coffee notes, and this has coffee notes in it. It's a oatmeal stout infused with roasted coffee, so it's going to taste like coffee. It's not much on this other than Vent Coffee Roasters. That must be where they got their coffee beans from. I've had the Snow Pants before. I liked it a lot. Probably the first stout that I tried that I actually liked because it's an oatmeal stout probably. I tried Guinness before. Didn't like that too much. But the oatmeal stout I did like when I tried the Snow Pants. This is their Pajama Pants. Basically a take on basically Snow Pants infused with coffee. Let's get a pour and see the color. As you can see, dark in color. Looks like coffee. A little bit. It's about the same. But when I look through the light, I can see it's a little bit darker than this. You probably can't tell the difference. A little bit darker than the Blackwing. Yeah, those coffee notes is the first thing I smell on the nose. A little bit of chocolate coming through, but mainly like a fresh pot of roasted coffee. Let's see what it tastes. Nice creamy, like that must be the oatmeal coming through. It makes it creamy. Tastes heavy coffee. A little bit of bite, but that's that 8.5% that lets you know that, yeah, it's not your everyday run of the mill beer. I drank this and went down very smooth. It's only 4.5%. This has a little bit of bite to let you know it's 8.5. Yeah, a little bit of the cocoa, the chocolate, but mainly coffee. That's mainly what I'm getting on the taste. I like it. It's different from the Blackwing, but that's probably just the oatmeal because it's oatmeal stout and not just a lager. I like it. I give it a 4. 4 out of 5 on 4 out of 5 on the rating scale. Let's cleanse the palate before we get to this next one. Our next and final review. But before we get to that, I want to give a shout out to the Black Wrestling Podcast on this Nation the Domination crew neck. Shout out to my guys there, Kyle, Fam, Math. They got good merch. Get them a follow on Instagram, Black Wrestling. Give their podcast a listen. You can find that podcast on all streaming services as well. Now, our last and final review for the day, Uncle Nerd's 1856. Now, before we get into it, before I crack this bottle, let's do a little bit of backstory, history on Uncle Nerd's. I found out about Uncle Nerd's through the Black and Brown podcast. Shout out to y'all guys again. They had a whole episode on that during that first season called The Black Story. Basically, it's just the backstory of African Americans in the whiskey industry. But first, let's do a little bit backstory on who Uncle Nerd's actually was. His name is Nathan Nerd's Green, known as the Godfather of Tennessee whiskey, was a man born into slavery in 1820. He later became a free man due to the Civil War, I believe. But he was the first black master, now it's called head distiller for Jack Daniels. Back in 2016, I believe, a lady, African American lady by the name of Fawn Weaver. She has her own independent financial institution. She's a New York Times best-selling author. She decided to honor Uncle Nerd's, did some research, and started this whiskey company. Through her research and diligent work, she got Jack Daniels to actually recognize Uncle Nerd's as the first head distiller. And I think that was in August of 2017. And in about October of 2017, they officially added his legacy to the tours at the Jack Daniel Distillery and have a display for him in their visitor center. In September 2017, she started the Nerd's Green Foundation, which is funded by sales of Uncle Nerd's whiskey and the official autobiography of Jack Daniel sales. This foundation was created to provide scholarships for all descendants, full scholarships for grad and undergrad school for all descendants of Nathan Green, as well as have a museum and a memorial park for Uncle Nerd's. Uncle Nerd's met Jack Daniels as a young boy. They both worked for a guy, and Jack Daniels started working for a guy that Nathan Green was already working for. He put him under Uncle Nerd's wing, taught him how to make whiskey using what's called the Lincoln method, which is distilling it and filtering it through maple charcoals. Uncle Nerd's and Jack Daniels became close friends. Some even saying that Jack Daniels held Nathan Green and his kids above his own kids. So, with that being said, Uncle Nerd's whiskey offers 3 different types of whiskey, each of them named after a year. They have 1820, which is a single barrel, about 11 years old, at least 108 proof. And the significance of 1820 is the year that Uncle Nerd's was born. They have the 1856, which is 100 proof, between 8 and 14 years. It's premium whiskey. And I believe that this might be the year that Jack Daniels met Uncle Nearest. And they have the 1884, which is a 7-year whiskey, small batch. And that's 1884 is the last year that Uncle Nearest barreled whiskey. Now, let's get to the whiskey. Here we got here we have 1856 premium whiskey. Like I said, it's Uncle Nearest is in 2019 and 2020. Uncle Nearest is the most award-winning whiskey, American whiskey. On the front of the bottle, it says "Made in Tennessee, maple charcoal filter, aged in charred oak barrels." Like I said, that's filtering it through maple charcoals is the process that Uncle Nearest taught Jack Daniels as a young lad. What we're going to do here to make sure we get the full taste and aroma, we're going to run it through the aerator. Oh man, this might not work. This bottle might be a little bit too big, but we're going to try it anyway. Shout out to Fam and Math for giving me the idea to run liquor through the aerator. Aerators are usually used for wines, red wine specifically. Add some air, introduce air to the liquid, gives you a better nose and a better taste. Let's give it a try. Hopefully we don't spill. It worked. Like I said, it's 100 proof. Before we do that, let's see what it says on the back of the bottle. Astonishingly smooth with a gentle finish. Uncle Nearest 1856 is inspired by the best whiskey maker the world never knew. Tennessee's premier master distiller and teacher, Uncle Nearest helped perfect the distinctive maple charcoal filtering process that exemplifies the best of American whiskey. Handmade, double distilled, and aged in American oak barrels, Uncle Nearest 1856 paid tribute to his legacy and craft. You can go on their website, unclenearest.com, to find out any more information that I might have skipped, I might have missed, might not have had time to explain to you here. Let's get a smell. I'm smelling the oak. Get some maple, some vanilla notes, a little bit of citrus. It's not burning my nose. That's about it right now. Let's get a taste. As you can see the color there. Nice amber brown. Pretty much the same on the taste. Nice finish. You can feel the warmth. Vanilla notes, smooth. Oaky. That's what I'm getting right now. As you know, this is only the third episode. Like I said before, I'm fairly new to it. I'm not going to get it as extensive on the taste and the nose as you might find some other places and some other reviews, because I'm not that experienced. So as we go along, my repertoire might expand a little bit, but right now that's all I got. It's a good whiskey. I give it 4.5 out of 5. I love the story. Love that it's black owned. Shine a light on the first black head distiller in America. The godfather of Tennessee whiskey. I can tell that this will lead to a good night. It's a good bourbon. I got nothing bad to say about it. You see it, costs about, depending on where you're getting it from, I got it for about, I think it was $45, $46. You find it upwards of $60. It's well worth every penny. Go give it a try. Now, as we've seen, or as we know by now, we use our senses. Not really touch, because, I mean, it's a liquid, it's going to be wet. But 5 senses: touch, sight, smell, taste, hearing. So far, we already know we down 1. We down touch. We've used sight, we use smell, and we use taste. Thanks to the Black and Brown podcast, what they've introduced is, what does your bourbon sound like? What that means is, what do you get on the air? When you taste it, what comes to mind? What sounds come to mind? Usually a song, something like that. Something I've never heard before until I start listening to them. So shout out to them for introducing that. And I've put it to practice, let's say. A lot of stuff sometimes I don't really get anything on the air because I don't want to sit and overthink it, because once I start overthinking it, it's kind of like forcing it. I'm going to start thinking word association, blah, 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 blah. And it's kind of forcing something on it. And I don't really want to do that. I just want to taste it. Bam, what do I get on the air? You know, what do I think? The first thing that comes to mind, what I get on the air when I drink Uncle Nerd's 1856 is Jay-Z, The Ruler's Back. First song off his Blueprint album. What Jay-Z's basically doing on that song is putting everybody on notice, let them know, I'm here, and y'all gonna have to deal with me. That's what Fawn Weaver's doing with Uncle Nerd's whiskey. It's telling all these other whiskey brands that, hey, we here, we're gonna be here to stay. Black-owned whiskey is going to be giving y'all a run for y'all money. Uncle Nerd's is going to be Uncle Nerd's is the 2019 and 2020 most awarded American whiskey, including bourbons. And I think it's going to be one of the top premier whiskeys. And that's why when I drink Uncle Nerd's, the first thing that comes to mind is The Ruler's Back. First song off the Blueprint album. Go listen to it. Go get a drink Uncle Nerd's. Feel free to tag me. Let me know what you get on the air. You can find me on your social media, Vonzarelli, VONZERELLI. You can find the show at Body More Bottles, BODYMOREBOTTLES. Give us a follow. Give us some feedback. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Appreciate y'all for coming through, spending some time with me. All right, so in conclusion, I just want to give a shout out to the Black and Brown podcast. 3 good brothers, you know. Follow them on Instagram. They're very accessible. You send them a DM, you comment on their post. They'll comment back, write you back. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Blodger for co-founding Union Craft Brewery, and Fawn Weaver for honoring Uncle Nurse and bringing his legacy back to light and keeping it alive. Drink responsibly, don't drink and drive, and body those bottles. Peace.